All right. Gabby, Kaylin, Crystal. What did they all have in common? I believe dating sites. That's what I believe. But you'll never hear that through the government. I believe they all were dating site ladies. I believe I've seen Gabby's photo and Kaylin's and possible Crystals on dating sites years ago. And is it possible that they met? All these people met off a dating site? Yes. So is it possible Brian killed the Crystal and Kaylin? Yes. Is it possible John Freeman Colt killed the girls? It's possible, but he was in a total different area at that time, and there was alibis stating that he was in that town where they said he was the whole time. He did have a shotgun and a rifle. Is it possible he killed them all? It's possible. He was an escaped sex offender. Uh, it is possible. But I'm thinking the information we need lies on their phones, on Crystal's phone, Kaylin's phone, Gabby's phone, and Brian's phone. And the information we need lies in the bar, Woody's, the surveillance cameras, to see who they were with that night and was Brian and Gabby in that bar that night. We need footage of Brian and Gabby at the Moab's store. And could have Brian got pissed off? Yeah. Killed them all? Killed Gabby? Yeah. No. We need that footage, the full footage of Inside Woody's to see if Brian and Gabby were there that night. Was there any connection electronically through the Moab girls and Brian and Gabby? I think that's what the information we need. Um, we also need to find out where John Freeman Colt was on February the 13th, 2017. The only reason I ask that is because there's been other murders where the bodies were staged in similar situations with their pants off and breast showing. Um, could have Brian and Gabby uh, met them at the bar that night and followed them out to their campground? It's possible. And maybe someone got jealous because, Kaylin Schultz uh, was an incredible, beautiful looking woman. She was a very beautiful woman. Is it possible there was a jealousy between Brian? But is it possible they had sex, some kind of an orgy or something, or something like that? And Maybe there was jealousy because Brian maybe was attracted more to Kylen or something, or the other girls or something. Maybe they did something Gabby didn't do, or and there was a jealousy there, and then uh, someone killed them. Killed either Brian or Gabby killed the girls or whatever, or possible. There's a lot of scenarios of what could have happened. But I think the police pretty much think it's not John Freeman Colt because they already have his DNA because he was a criminal and he was a sex offender. So when he went into prison, they already had his DNA. And they already had the weapons because they already picked up John Freeman Colts. They already picked them up a while back. And if it was him, they would have came out and said it was him. But I bet you the DNA ain't matching, and his alibis. There is videos out there of people saying that they didn't know he was an escaped convict, and he didn't leave the town. They seen him every day, and they don't think he did it. And here's the thing: would someone do something like that, being that he was an escaped sex offender? Repeatedly and very violent. Would he break out of jail to commit a crime like that, possibly to get police back on his trail? Because every serial killer, every sex offender like that has a MO. Would he do something like that? Break out of prison, actually get free, and then go out and commit a crime like that? Bring heat onto him, because then the police would have said, well, we got DNA, let's run it. And then it said, well, guess what? The DNA matches this guy, but he's in jail. Or we think he's in jail, but he escaped, whatever. Now, would they cover that up? Well, the police, they might have. But if they were smart and it was the guy that did it, John Freeman Colt, then, was he acting with, did he have brothers? Did I don't think so, because all the people there said they went to work with him every single day and hung out with him every night. And they don't think it was him, but the people that were doing the interview said they also didn't know that he seemed like a great guy and everything. Now, would he get out of prison, escape, and then commit crimes to bring heat on him after he just escaped? Meaning go out and do killings and rapes or whatever that match the MO of him, and leave DNA where they can track him and say, well, this belongs to a guy in prison. Let's go talk to him. Then they get there and the guy ain't there. Is it possible? Sure, it's possible. World's gone evil. Could all the girls been being pimped out by somebody or a fake dating site or whatever? Sure, it's possible. No, I'm not saying they belong to dating sites. Their computers or phones might have got hacked and their photos got put on dating sites. But I'm not the only one, I believe, that have seen them on dating sites years ago. So it's very possible that maybe they were doing something illegal. Maybe it was a fake thing. I don't know. The answers lie in their electronic tracking messages and all that. So, and we need the footage of that bar, the full, complete footage of that bar. The entrance, every camera that was in that bar, even the camera that's outside surveilling the parking lot. We need all that camera footage to see if Brian and Gabby were anywhere in that bar that night. And followed them to where they were camping. Maybe it was Brian that got in an altercation with the Moab girls. If we don't have video, that's just hearsay. That they didn't say who it was. They just said some creepy guy. There was no mention of an argument at the Mayflower. So, you know, something ain't adding up in that. Who was Crystal and Kylen at the bar with? And we need all the footage from the bar. Every surveillance camera that they had there from the time the person they walked into the bar to the time they left and them leaving the parking lot. They need all that footage. They need videos of any cameras that were in that area at any stores that show Kylen and Crystal leaving that bar, either just the two of them or with other people. And I believe more girls are in danger probably out there. Good God, there's TikTok videos of girls and a guy, and people are saying, it looks like this girl, something's wrong. It looks like she's being controlled. She's keeping her eyes to the ground, like submission, like an animal. Why the guy is smirking with an evil smile on his face. So it is possible that there's other girls out there in danger. And if you're in a relationship like that, ladies, and you are next to somebody and they're screaming bad vibes, uh, get away from them. You don't need them. Now I'm just going to sit here in silence so you can hear the creaking and the whatever it is. Enter my apartment, me or whatever it is. I don't know.
said,
it can actually do at full potential. They rigorously train their bodies, minds, and souls to achieve amazing feats that almost seem impossible to perform. It's hard to believe sometimes that they actually exist and are as real as you and me. From being able to instantly change their body temperature to being absolutely invincible in many different ways, here are 15 superpowers monks have in real life. Number 15. Itigalav Lama. A monk started meditating and told people to wake him up in 75 years. This is what happened next. The Russian Buddhist monk called Dashi Dorjo Itigalav Lama is literally driving scientists out of their minds. His request might seem very surreal for people like you and me, but in this devoted Buddhist temple in Siberia, Russia, nobody raised an eyebrow and they followed the orders with scary exactitude. The temple in question is one of the biggest in Russia, and it's located in the undesirable region of Siberia. Itigalav Lama was particularly devout and enlightened, so he went to meditate for 7.5 decades without any human contact or any food or water. After that long period of time, the other monks at the temple went to wake him up as convened beforehand. What they found will blow your mind. Apparently, the monk had died 75 years ago, but his body showed no signs of decay whatsoever. They found the monk still sitting up and with a sweet smile on his face. Some people go so far as to say that Itigalav Lama is still meditating in a deep state of nirvana and that he's still alive, like a sculpture with a conscience. So either the mysterious monk has managed to defy death, or maybe he was so pure in life that his body will never decompose. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button and click the notification bell. I'm going to run along walls without any kind of effort. If this isn't defying gravity, then I don't know what is. Just imagine the perfect balance of strength and equilibrium that requires such a mind-blowing exercise. They're almost not human, but some kind of delicate flying creature. But in reality, they are extremely strong and sturdy. It takes a lot of force to defy gravity like that, and being lightweight and powerful truly is a feat. Number 13. Superhuman strength. There are almost 8 billion people on this earth of ours, and most of us, including me, can't even do a push-up, let alone a pull-up. But the incredible Shaolin monks can not only do these without any kind of effort, they can also do a push-up with just 2 fingers. Imagine how much that would hurt without proper training. But don't be fooled by the nonchalant display of finger strength this monk is doing. They actually train for years to have fingers as strong as iron. They first punch a bowl full of sand for hours on end during the early years. Then they move up to finger punch a tree trunk, and you can actually see the holes in the wood left by the finger punches. Some of them are as deep as 5 inches. They are so incredibly strong, they can throw a simple sewing needle through glass. This trick requires an immense mind and muscle coordination, as the needle needs to be traveling at outstanding speed and it has to hit the glass at exactly 90 degrees. The result is so precise that only a hole big enough for the needle is created without shattering the glass. Number 12. Fearlessness. Monks don't only train their bodies, but their minds as well. They engage in heavy exercises to teach their brains how to control fear. They certainly feel fear like any other living thing on Earth, but they can take full control of it. I mean, look at this monk sitting on a pool of pure oil placed directly on top of a huge open fire. It definitely takes a lot of guts to do that. The image of being cooked alive doesn't seem to be able to enter his mind at all. If the superhero movies taught us anything, it's that being able to control fear is as important as being strong, if not more. This is an outstanding ability that very few people manage to master, and they do so only after years of very intensive training and pain endurance exercises. Lack of fright and courage have always been closely linked, and after all, the only thing we are really frightened of is pain. So controlling one means to control the other, but it sounds easier than it really is in real life. Number 11. Insane endurance. Buddhist monks also excel in endurance. In October 2015, Kogen Kamahori from the Tendai sect performed a 9-day ritual known as the Doiri. But this isn't just an ordinary ritual. During the long 9 days, the monk didn't drink water, eat food, or even sleep. He didn't even lie down once. I bet you wish you could do this when that deadline for your homework approaches. This ritual is so extremely hard to endure that Kogen Kamahori is the first person to attempt it in 8 years and only the 13th monk since 1945. The 41-year-old enlightened monk had to train for 7 years to be able to perform the Doiri. As a part of this training called the 1,000-day walk, he had to circumnavigate on foot a holy mountain in the south of Japan for 1,000 non-consecutive days. Most people get cranky after one bad night of sleep and a missed meal, so just imagine the inner strength it takes to meditate and pray for over a week without sleeping or lying down. Number 10. Walking on water. Apparently, Jesus Christ wasn't the only one that could perform the miracle of walking on water. The Shaolin monks from the Chenzhou Temple can do it too, and no tricks involved. Granted, it took them 6 attempts to manage to sprint across the water without falling in, but they managed to get it on camera nonetheless. The technique used to perform this incredible trick is called light body Joe Bonamassa, hailed as one of the world's greatest guitar players. Rock type Joe Bonamassa. Kung Fu. And it basically means that these monks can literally make their bodies behave like if they were much more lightweight than they actually are. Sound confusing? Well, that's because it sounds impossible, but in reality it can be done. Here's the proof. The record holder on this technique is currently Shi, and he uses very thin plywood planks floating in the water like a bridge. Each plank is no thicker than 1 centimeter. Now, that might look like cheating and like he's actually just walking on a small bridge. Therefore, he isn't technically walking on water. But the point of this performance is to manage to make one's body lighter, and that is exactly what Shi achieves. He runs on water for a whopping 18 meters. And if you think it's easy, we invite you to try it yourself. Then you'll see just how extraordinary Shi really is. Number 9. Balls of Steel. For all the boys out there, you all know how sensitive the crotch area can be and how much pain you can feel if they're handled the wrong way. Now imagine actually training your balls, basically hitting them time after time to manage to make them more shielded from physical pain. It sounds like torture, right? Well, that is exactly what some monks undergo, willingly. The technique they used is called Iron Crotch Kung Fu, and it is exactly as painful as it sounds. They basically hit each other's balls repeatedly every single day for years. I mean, no thank you. But the results are actually quite amazing. They become completely immune to pain down there, to the point that if you hit them with a brick with full force, they'll feel it, of course, but it won't hurt them. And I know all the men and boys would love to have this superpower, especially the ones that have little brothers. They can even tie a really heavy weight around their balls and just lift it like it's nothing. You have to admit, this is incredibly impressive, considering that the crotch is one of the most vulnerable parts of men's bodies. For close combat and wrestling, this is an invaluable asset. Number 8. Adjusting the body temperature. Imagine being able to control and adjust your own body temperature to the point you'd be a walking fridge/oven. Well, it is very real and possible. The Tibetan Buddhist monks use this technique daily. Tibet is in northern India, and the temples there are in extremely high altitudes, where the weather can be quite rough and ice cold. being able to rise your body temperature isn't just a cool trick, it could save your life more times than one. So the monks there train rigorously in a technique called Tummo, which basically transforms you into a human thermostat. And they get so good at it, they can dry a water-soaked sheet placed on their shoulders. The sheet was dipped in 49-degree water, and after a while of being at the meditating monk's shoulders, it literally started steaming. Any other untrained person would just have naturally started shivering from the utter cold, but not the Buddhist monk. His body just adapts and starts generating so much heat, it starts drying up the sheet. Number 7. Low metabolism. Although everyone's dream nowadays is to be able to eat as much as they want and not get fat, being able to survive with very little food is a quality that can prove to be extremely valuable, especially in remote places where food is scarce, and even in the event of war or a natural disaster. Needing little to eat is much more valuable to survive than being able to eat whatever you want. And apparently, it's possible to train your own body to slow down your metabolism to the point that you even need less oxygen to survive. For decades, scientists considered that the allegations that Buddhist monks could slow down their metabolism at will were considered as exaggerations. But after conducting several scientific studies on the monks, it turns out they were not exaggerations at all, as they discovered and proved they can do exactly that. I know a lot of people that would love to have that ability. No more nasty diets, just make yourself less hungry. But in all seriousness, the monks are capable of slowing down their metabolism because of spiritual reasons. It is a cleansing of the body and of the mind. Number 6. Fast like a bullet. It's known worldwide that Buddhist monks are very fast, but just how fast are they? Well, some people say they are as fast as a bullet. Their movements are so extremely rapid that it's quite impossible to follow their fists when they're training, almost like Neo from the movie The Matrix. They are precise and deadly. They train rigorously every day for years without ever stopping or having a sick day, and the result is mind-blowing. They can literally move faster than what a human eye can follow. Your brain gets confused about what you're seeing, as their movements and gestures can be so unbelievably rapid. They almost look not human, but rather like a delicate and elusive insect. Imagine trying to catch the wings of a fly in motion. These monks are of similar talent. It's no wonder why the mainstream world, such as the rappers of the Wu-Tang Clan, are so obsessed with the Shaolin Buddhist monks. They might just be the fastest human beings in the world. They say that Superman's faster than a speeding bullet, but Shaolin monks are real-life superheroes. Number 5. Invincibility. We've established that Shaolin monks are like superheroes. They're certainly the strongest and most invincible human beings out there. And that's because of their extreme training that they start very early in their lives. Since they're little boys, they wake up very early when it's still night out, and they train every single day without exception. They train each part of their bodies meticulously, and the result is simply a group of invincible men. They can crack a solid brick with their bare hands and punch a hole in a tree trunk with their fingers. They also perform a technique daily called the iron shirt, where they strike each other with such force that their muscles become like pure steel over time. So it is impossible to hurt a Shaolin monk. They can't be defeated. These monks also practice lying down balanced on spearheads, which trains their body to be invulnerable to piercing wounds. They also harden their own skull by hitting their heads daily for years and years, until the bone in their skull is so incredibly strong they can literally break hard objects with it. They even train their throats. Being one of the most fragile and exposed parts of the body, they also hit it repeatedly until it can withstand any blow. Number 4. Throw a needle through a pane of glass. Imagine being so talented and precise in your movements that you can literally throw a tiny little needle through a thick pane of glass. That is exactly what the Shaolin Buddhist monks can do. In order for the needle to actually pierce a hole through the hard glass, they have to throw it at almost the speed of a bullet. And for further proof, they place a balloon on the other side, just to make sure that When it pops, you know the needle made it all the way through the glass. This ultra-fast trick is much more impressive than it looks, and it looks quite impressive as it is. The secret of this exercise is to hit the glass with the pointy side of the needle at the fastest speed possible, all while maintaining a perfect 90-degree angle. The amount of concentration and fine muscle coordination that this feat requires is outstanding, yet the Shaolin monks make it look easy. Their movement is so precise that the needle creates a hole just big enough for it to pass through the glass. There isn't even a hint of shattering, just the perfectly shaped tiny little hole. Number 3. Inverse handstand with just one index finger. Handstands are already hard enough as it is, but imagine being able to do an inversion handstand on 2 extended fingers. Now that is insane. But it is real too, and the Shaolin monks do them every day, no sweat. To perform this amazing feat of strength, they train very hard for years and years. For Shaolin monks, the most... Oh, whoa, buddy.
With Crime on a Dime. If you'd like to, please subscribe and push the notification bell so that you'll get notified when I put up new videos. And if you'd like, go back and watch some of my older videos. There's several on the Petito case that you might find of interest. Today, I'd like to talk about 3 murders that could be related. Kylen Schultz, Crystal Turner, and Gabby Petito. 3 women, all in Moab at the same time. 2 lived there. 1 was just passing through. The violence between Gabby and Brian took place outside the Moonflower Co-op at 4:30 p.m. on August the 12th. They were pulled over by Moab police a short time later after 2 911 calls came in about the disturbance between Gabby and Brian outside the Moonflower Community Co-op. The 911 call absolutely says the man was slapping the woman. Both Gabby and Brian had marks on them, according to police, yet it seemed that police were believing Brian more and treating Gabby as the aggressor. They were told to separate for the night. Kylen Schultz worked at the Moonflower Co-op as a cashier and hat model. She'd been there for 3 years. She was often the first person to greet customers and perhaps the last to collect monies for their purchases. I believe that Brian and Gabby went to the Moonflower to stock up on fruits and vegetables, nuts, and other supplies. Kylen's father, Sean Paul Schultz, said that Kylen was the type of person that if she saw 2 people fighting, she would have told them, "Hey, you guys, stop, be nice." Did Kylen step outside when the fight between Brian and Gabby was happening? Did she say those words or similar words to Brian and Gabby? Brian and Gabby spent several more days in Moab, Utah. They were on a cross-country camping trip. Kylen and Crystal Beck were married in April, and they loved camping also. They had turned their Kia Sorento into their camping vehicle, but carried a tent and most times took their bunny rabbit, Ruthie, with them. The last time anyone would see Kylen Schultz or Crystal Turner alive was the night of August the 13th. They were in Woody's Tavern in Moab, Utah, sitting with 2 other women. They were also camping on LaSalle Loop Road, just 20 to 30 minutes outside Moab, Utah, in the LaSalle Mountains. The road out of Moab runs almost straight to their campsite. Kylen and Crystal said a creeper guy was hanging out near their campsite. They gave no description of this man that has been reported, just stated he intimidated them. Now, intimidate just means that they were frightened by him. People can be intimidated for many reasons, such as body language or verbal language, clues that make someone feel ill of ease of that person. Kylen had informed her friends that if something happened to them, that they were murdered because of the creepy man who was around their campsite. A premonition that Kylen had? Perhaps, because that is exactly what did happen. Many people who made contact with Brian Laundrie have come forth and described him with those exact same words, creepy. Like this TikTok user who said he and his friends ran into Brian Laundrie in a Jackson, Wyoming bar. Or the two women who said they picked Brian Laundrie up hitchhiking. When Brian and Gabby were staying those few days in Moab, Utah, did Gabby stay in a hotel room to have some time away from Brian? Did she let Brian take the van? Brian posted in his Instagram post from Moab on August the 13th. They were there from the 13th to the 19th. Nothing was posted from either, not until the 24th. Gabby is seen in Salt Lake City at a hotel. Did Brian take the van and go to LaSalle Loop Road to the camp? Or did the creeper guy that Kylen and Crystal spoke of leave? Did Brian stalk and follow Kylen and Crystal the night of August the 13th when they left the bar, when they left Woody's Tavern at around 9:30? Did he follow them back to their campsite and seek vengeance for what he believed was a tattletale 911 call that got him pulled over on August the 12th and could have led to him getting arrested? Did his violent temper that many have said he had push him over the edge? We don't know, because Kylen, Crystal, and Gabby were all murdered. After not hearing from his daughter Kylen in several days after August the 13th, and hearing about Kylen's text of a creeper, Sean Paul Schultz reported Kylen and Crystal missing and posted also on social media asking for help in finding them. It wasn't the police who found them. They were friends of hers. On August the 18th, she found their campsite on LaSalle Loop Road. Their blue Kia Sorento was there, a single camp tent, a makeshift rabbit shelter was also there, and other amenities for long-term camping. The rabbit was still in its cage in the Sorrento. Wouldn't they have taken it out and put it in the rabbit hutch once they got back to the campsite? Was August the 13th the night that they both were murdered? I don't think they would have left the rabbit in the vehicle. I think they would have taken it out. So it's very possible that when they got back to the campsite on August the 13th, after leaving Woody's bar, that is when the murders happened. Did someone know that's where they were camping? Were they lying in wait for them? Could that person have been Brian Laundrie? It's just a supposition. We don't know anything for sure. Cindy was on the phone with Kylen's father when she found the body of Kylen in a creek not far from the campsite. Kylen and Crystal had multiple gunshot wounds to their body, their back, their sides, and their chest. They were naked from the waist down. One woman had her bra pushed up to reveal her breasts. The other was just in a tank top. Both were lying in the creek, perhaps to wash away DNA evidence. It was stated in the Deseret News and by Kylen's father that they were raped. No suspects have been named in their murder. Gabby's TikTok video shows a picture of her holding a gun. I did a video on that a few days ago, if you want to go back and watch it, questioning whether it was Brian's gun. I think there's a strong possibility it was Brian's gun. The FBI are involved in the case of the murders. Gabby was murdered sometime in late August. The FBI is not releasing information from the autopsy of Gabby Petito as to her cause of death. Other police are not releasing any info about the investigation of the murders of Kylen and Crystal. The FBI went back to Brian Laundrie's home recently to obtain several items of Brian for DNA. We know his DNA was all over Gabby. It was in her van. It was on her. It was on her things. Did the FBI or police find a murder weapon at Gabby's campsite? Did they find the gun? Because if they find the gun, the bullets taken from Kylen and Crystal's bodies could be matched with that gun. That is only a supposition and a possibility. Was Gabby also shot? Maybe not. Maybe she was killed another way. Does the FBI have DNA evidence from the assault and murders of Kylen and Crystal? Is that why they went back to Brian's home to get DNA? Will we find out that Brian was involved with the deaths of Kylen and Crystal also? It's possible. There are many similarities in the two cases. Kylen probably was, and Gabby was for sure, in contact with Brian Laundrie. Brian was in Moab when the murders of Kylen and Crystal happened. He was with Gabby shortly before or during the time she was murdered. All three women were found in or near water. All three were camping.